This is the Slice, the first paddle released by KiwiLabs. It's a thermoformed paddle, so like all the other ones, it's got a unibody design, a Toray T700 carbon fiber paddle face, and edge foam injected into the perimeter. The paddle dimensions are pretty much the same as the Yola Solaire. It has an overall length of 16.2 inches, so it's in between the length of an elongated and standard shape paddle, and the same length as the hybrid paddles like the Vatic Flash and 6-0 Diamonds. However, it doesn't have the arrow curve shape of those hybrid paddles, and instead, it has the same rectangular shape of an elongated paddle, but with a wider width at 7.7 inches. The handle is 5.5 inches, and one thing to note about the handle is how thick it is. The grip circumference is 4.25 inches, but the grip that's provided makes the paddle handle the thickest I've ever tried, even without any overgrips on it. This is something worth noting if you do have smaller hands. I would actually recommend taking off the grip it comes with and replacing it with a thinner grip to make the handle more manageable. As for how this paddle plays, the most noticeable thing about the paddle is how nice the sweet spot is. Hands down, out of all the thermoform paddles I've tried so far, this one has the best feeling sweet spot because of its shape. There's always a nice solid feel when hitting blocks and resets with the Slice. Compared to the hybrid paddles, I found the Slice noticeably slower to swing. The arrow curve and thinner dimensions of the hybrid paddles definitely did provide a quicker swing speed compared to the Slice. The thick grip at the bottom also made the paddle seem a bit bottom heavy. Compared to elongated and hybrid paddles I've tried, this is probably the first paddle where I actually thought that the balance leaned more towards the bottom. Its swing speed is closer to that of an elongated paddle, but slightly quicker. The spin was about the same as all the other thermoform paddles, and there was nothing special to note there. For power, I couldn't generate as much on drives as an elongated paddle, but I would classify the power as more similar to the elongated paddles than the hybrid ones. I'd rank it in between the Vatic V7 and the 6-0 Double Black Diamond in terms of power. Speaking of that, I'll be looking to release a video in the future on where I rank all the thermoform paddles on different metrics like power and speed, so you'll have a better understanding on where paddles fit into my personal scale. But that won't be released until I finish reviewing all the other thermoform paddles that I have in the pipeline. Overall, I think the Slice is a very solid paddle. It's the most forgiving paddle I've played with, and I think it has one of the best sweet spots out of any paddle that's currently out. It plays more similar to an elongated paddle than a standard shape, but I still think this paddle is a good in-between of the two. It's definitely something to consider if you want a paddle that plays like an elongated paddle, but with a better sweet spot. And I personally think that this is what a hybrid paddle should have been like. Just note that if you do have smaller hands, this paddle may not be for you, and you may need to replace the stock grip that this paddle comes with. One more thing is that price-wise, the Slice is on the cheaper end for thermoform paddles. The only brand that is cheaper than it is Vatic Pro. The Kiwi Slice retails for $145, but you can use my discount code here and in the video description for 10% off your order.
That was like the first mess up thing.
Oh my god.
1-1, you got it in the middle.
It's still 1-1. It's 1-1.